The bringing together of all of these different national, racial, religious, and cultural elements has made our country a kind of composite of the rest of the world. And we can render no greater service than by demonstrating the possibility of harmonious cooperation among so many varied groups. Every one of them has something characteristic and significant of great value to cast into the common fund of our material, intellectual, and spiritual resources. The war brought a great test of our experiment in amalgamating these varied factors into a real nation, with the ideals and aspirations of a united people. None was accepted from the obligation to serve when the hour of danger struck. The event proved that our theory had been sound. On a solid foundation of national unity, there had been erected a superstructure which in its varied parts had offered full opportunity to develop all the range of talents and genius that had gone into its making. Well nigh all the races, religions, and nationalities of the world were represented in the armed forces of this nation, as they were in the body of our population. No man's patriotism was impugned or service questioned because of his racial origin, his political opinion, or his religious convictions. We must not, in times of peace, permit ourselves to lose any part from this structure of patriotic unity. I make no plea for leniency towards those who are criminal or vicious, are openly enemies of society, and are not prepared to accept the true standards of citizenship. By tolerance, I do not mean indifference to evil. I mean respect for different kinds of good. Whether one traces his Americanism back 3 centuries ago to the Mayflower or 3 years ago to the steerage is not half so important as whether his Americanism of today is real and genuine. No matter by what various crafts we came here, we are now all in the same boat. If we are to have that harmony and tranquility, that union of spirit, which is the foundation of real national genius and national progress, we must all realize that there are true Americans who did not happen to be born in our section of the country, who did not attend our place of religious worship, who are not of our racial stock, or who are not proficient in our language. If we are to create on this continent a free republic and an enlightened civilization that will be capable of reflecting the true greatness and glory of mankind, it will be necessary to regard these differences as accidental and unessential. We shall have to look beyond the outward manifestations of race and creed. Divine Providence has not bestowed upon any race a monopoly of patriotism and character. The same principle that it is necessary to apply to the attitude of mind among our people, it is also necessary to apply that attitude of mind among different nations. During the war, we are required not only to put a strong emphasis on everything that appealed to our own national pride, but an equally strong emphasis on that which tended to disparage other peoples. There was an intense cultivation of animosities, hatreds, and enmities, together with a blind force to appeal, that took possession of substantially all of the peoples of the earth. Of course, these ministered to the war spirit. They supplied the incentive for destruction, the motive for conquest. But in times of peace, these sentiments are not helps, but hindrances. They are not constructive. The generally expressed desire of America first cannot be criticized. It is a perfectly correct aspiration for our people to cherish. But the problem which we have to solve is how to make America first. It cannot be done by the cultivation of national bigotry, arrogance, or selfishness. Hatreds, jealousies, and suspicions will not be productive of any benefits in this direction. Here again, we must apply the rule of toleration, because there are other peoples whose ways are not our ways and whose thoughts are not our thoughts. We are not warranted in drawing the conclusion that they are adding nothing to the sum of civilization. we can make little contribution to the welfare of humanity on the theory that we are a superior people and all others are an inferior people. We do not need to be too loud in the assertion of our own righteousness. It is true that we live under most favorable circumstances, but before we come to the final and irrevocable decision that we are better than everyone else, we need to consider what we might do if we had their provocations and their difficulties. We are not likely to improve our own condition or help humanity very much until we come to the sympathetic understanding that human nature is about the same everywhere, that it is rather evenly distributed over the surface of the earth, and that we are all united in a common brotherhood. We can only make America first in the true sense, which that means by cultivating a spirit of friendship and goodwill, by the exercise of the virtues of patience and forbearance, by being plenteous in mercy, and through progress in home and helpfulness abroad, standing as an example of real service to humanity.